I'm Matt.
I'm Shane, and you are about to listen to an excerpt from a Comic Movie Marks podcast.
So if you like what you hear, make sure you hit that like button real hard, and make sure you subscribe to Comic Movie Marks. And always remember,
if Trailer Trash can do it,
anyone can do it. Okay, so I think now we're just going to get straight into our spoiler talk.
Yep, and we're gonna start with one of my friends on my Facebook page. I don't have many. Okay, an acquaintance. He's
you hurt his feelings.
He's like, well, fuck you. It's the last time I tried to fix Christmas lights in your store. He did try to do that one time, just randomly. Our random side story in the retail store that I work for, the Christmas lights weren't working, and him and another friend were like spent an hour trying to fix them, and with no luck. But
reminds me of what is that, Christmas Vacation?
Christmas Vacation, yeah. I was just watching that earlier, actually. Yeah, good movie. So he's a big Star Wars fan, and the thing that really intrigued me with this is, you know, how Facebook works is if people are commenting on a popular topic, you'll see their comments popping up, and he had posted some things as well, and he was really championing this film, and really supporting it. And so I found it really, really intriguing. So I reached out to him and said, hey, would you mind giving me a brief review, once I see it? And he said, yeah, absolutely. It's funny because I think he typed it up, and I said, yeah, I don't see it till later. He saw it opening night, saw Force Awakens, and then saw Last Jedi right in the same night. And I think he typed up to the review, waited for it, and I'm like, hey, so do you mind sending me that review? Boom, he sends it right away. I'm like, there's no way you sent all that, or you wrote all that. So anyways, this is a quick review from him. His name's Zach, and this is what he put. So he said, I love the movie. It was a perfect Skywalker saga movie. It didn't stand alone as much as Rogue One, but it shouldn't have. Episode 7 did too much callback. This was the Goldilocks that was right in between. It had callbacks and parallels to episode 5. And then in parentheses, he puts, find the old master who's reluctant to teach, except there was a role reversal with Luke not wanting to teach rather than Yoda. And the dark side calling, Rey exploring the water cave like Luke explored the tree on Dagobah?
Dagobah, yeah.
Dagobah.
It was a cave.
Yeah, and then
maybe, I don't know. He's probably right, actually.
Yeah, probably. And then he puts big battle at Rebel Base, Salt Planet instead of Hoth. And then he continues, were the big ones that really caught my attention. However, with those similarities, it was still very different. Even the battle at the base was at the end of the movie rather than the beginning. Excellent visually, and I don't think that can be argued. Snoke's throne room destroyed, the hyperspace ship missile, to name a few. The character development with Kylo and Rey hooked me. While Snoke was a seemingly meaningless villain, he's either not entirely dead or it was the perfect twist. Kylo needs Snoke dead in order to complete his journey to the dark side, as every Sith has done before him. And the tease of Rey just builds anticipation for 9. The only lame or BS part to me was when Leia came floating back from space. They should have let her fade out and have us enjoy her sacrifice. And Rey's parents being nothing special, amazing. It kicked me in the stomach, as I think it did most fans, but movies are meant to make you feel. You don't always get what you want in life, and Rian Johnson succeeded in proving that with this Star Wars movie in ways that J.J. Abrams didn't, and in parentheses, and arguably couldn't with episode 7. And then I'll save his score for a little bit later. Sure. So I thought he put that very well, and argues it. I even put in kind of the communication back and forth with him, that he's like, I don't understand why people hate this movie so much. And I'm like, I know exactly how you feel. I'm a DC fan. And he didn't reply. He's like,
Marvel
okay.
Fan.
Yeah, probably.
Or he just like you.
Crickets.
So we're going to roll into a little bit of a segment here in our spoiler talk that I deemed bucking the trend, or basically saying "fuck you" Episode 7 is kind of what this is about. And some of those topics that I'm going to bring up here were in Zach's review here that Shane just read. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about was like Rey's parents being from nothing instead of being a Skywalker or any Jedi lineage. The background of Rey is nothing. It's literally a story of nothing. Instead of having a lineage like everybody else has had, the midichlorians and shit like that, all that bullcrap that the Jedi have established in previous movies is all gone. It's just some rando people selling their kid, and she's now one of the strongest Jedi out there. So I thought that was kind of different, especially the way they were leading up to this. The throne room scene mirroring Episode 6. So in this throne room scene with Snoke, it's it's mirroring Episode 6 a lot with Luke and Vader. Mm-hmm. Instead, we got Rey and Kylo, and then Snoke being like the Emperor.
Right.
We really don't know anything about this guy. He's an evil dude in a shitty robe, and he's trying to get information, and he's in all this bullshit. He's basically planned, or he set this mind trap of the Force, whatever, linking those two, and that's his trap to get her there, just like the Emperor in Episode 6 did to leak out Death Star plans to bring Luke to the Death Star. So it's very similar, but again, they flipped the script. Instead of having this whole like fighting against the Force, join the dark side bullshit going on, no, they ice Snoke right there. He's in pieces. Rey and Kylo have this awesome fight against the whatever that is, the Jedi Guard or whatever, the Emperor's guards or whatever the hell.
That was sweet. That was definitely one of my positives.
And it becomes this whole new concept right there alone. It's much different than the other one. The lightsaber with Luke Skywalker in the beginning. I should have started with this one because I felt like him tossing the lightsaber is almost him to me, this is how I read it, is like tossing all the other movies right over his shoulder.
Yeah, out the window.
is how I get it. Just forget the old. Like, not even think about the lineage of this lightsaber. Like, what does it mean? It means nothing. And he tosses it over his shoulder. Another thing was Benicio del Toro's character was a lot like Lando. He tries to help him, and then he gets, he makes a deal with the Emperor, or not the Emperor, but he makes a deal with the First Order. But the only difference is he doesn't get a redemption story. They just have him go off, and he just gets his shit.
Yeah, no kidding. He gets his money. I didn't even think, I didn't make that comparison. So yeah, that's a good one.
The Luke's sacrifice is somewhat similar to Obi-Wan, except he wasn't struck down. He died in peace compared to Obi-Wan being killed in hatred. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was, again, changing the script a little bit. And then the ultimate thing for me was, actually one more, Finn's sacrifice. Finn was flying towards that boom cannon or whatever the fuck it was. He was flying towards it, and you think Finn's going to sacrifice himself. We made the joke. We made the meme on our Instagram. It kind of reminded me of Independence Day. I was waiting for him to say, "Hey, boys, I'm back." And I thought he was going to go right into the cannon. And no, he gets knocked away. It's all about hope and love, I guess, and the most awkward kiss of all time.
Yeah,
we'll get into a funny story on that one later on. But then the ultimate thing about bucking the trend on this is Kylo and Rey's conversation right after they beat all the guards and everything. Kylo is literally the new age of Star Wars. Like, this is the director now saying to the rest of the Star Wars fans, forget the old, forget the Skywalkers, forget Snoke, forget all the old. Let's start something new, is basically what he's saying. Forget the Jedi, forget the Sith, forget all that. Let's start something new. And I think that's very, very telling to how this movie is start something new. What do you think, Bob?
I feel like I should prepare something before this podcast. I just come into this like winging it. If you got like novels ready to go, you guys are making that's pretty fucking great. That's pretty comprehensive.
Well, thank you.
Comprehensive. Great. And that's ultimately what I loved about this movie. Like I said, coming into this movie, unfortunately, I can't wait to see it again. I'm gonna see it again in a couple of days. And I can't wait to see it again because, again, I came into this movie wanting to hate it because it really turned me off how The Force Awakens felt like, it just felt like beat for beat remake of A New Hope. And so I went to this, my arms crossed, like just, this better be more original. It's better not be like a beat for beat remake of Empire Strikes Back. And in the beginning, I feel like there were a lot of parallels, like everything you just noted, like Rey going to train isolated in a different planet. The movie even starts out with like a rebel escape. Like it was all. I started to sense the same movie again, so I was like, oh, is this gonna fucking happen again, or is this gonna be a beat for beat remake of Empire Strikes Back? But no, you think it's gonna be that, but then it quickly turns it on its head, and that's when I started loving the movie. So I agree with everything with what you just said. Like I think bucking the trend is probably like in a sentence like what wraps up this movie the most, and which is what I love about it. And again, which is what a lot of other people hate about it, which is why this is a very divisive movie. But yeah, I think everything you just said is really great. And this is why I love the movie.
All right, so let's get into a little bit of our pros. And I think some of those things from that bucking the trend are going to kind of intermingle in here between the pros and cons. Because that whole list I just gave off, there is some of those things I really do like. Mm-hmm. And there is like a couple of those things I don't like.
Yeah, I think that's probably the main, as BattleBob talked about, that if you take those one way or another, that can really sway your opinion of the movie. If you don't mind the change and the progress, and just kind of mixing some things up a little bit, then you might enjoy this movie a little bit more. Where if you are hoping for, almost a beat for beat remake or whatever, or just kind of, business as usual, yeah, I just want to enjoy this, then that's when you're going to be like, holy shit. Because I do feel like to a large extent they tried to change things up as much as possible. Like, you think this is how it's going to go? No, we're going to come off this way, mm-hmm. And so it can go one way or another.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to start off with a couple of pros. We already talked about some of this already in our non-spoiler, but it's just, again, beautiful movie. The light speed kamikaze attack, like, holy shit. I thought that is one of the biggest reasons to watch this movie in theaters. Was that point right there, because of the ambient noise you get right when she fucking takes the light speed ship right through the other ship, the Juggernaut ship or whatever the fuck it was called. She goes through that thing, and like the way the noise just cuts out, it's space,
Yeah.
Dead silent. In the feel you get inside of a theater when you're surrounded by a bunch of people and
everyone's quiet,
is dead silent as you watch this spectacle on screen. I think that is price of admission right there.
Yeah.
And alone, because it was an insane thing to watch in theater with all these people surrounding you.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Again, kind of changing it up because they just introduced, that's Admiral Holdo is who that character was. And, they change it up where she's like, all right, now I'm going to sacrifice myself and do the noble thing, go down with the ship, and boom. It's, the cool part, the one thing that I noticed about that specific scene is now twice you have with the score, it's so epic. It's so just like, above and beyond, like, holy shit, type score throughout the whole movie. And so when that happens, it's noticeable and you're like, holy shit, like you said, ambient noise. The comparison I made with Force Awakens, where Finn and Kylo are doing the lightsaber battle and there's no score, there's no music in the background, and it's just the sound of them and the lightsaber. And it's not quite the same feeling, but it is kind of like a, holy shit, like there's something, even though you notice that it's missing, it's cool. It's really, really well done. And I think because it's so different, you have this over the top music, like crazy, music, and then all of a sudden it's nothing. It just makes the impact so much more.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That was such a key moment in the film, not only for like its beauty, but also because it was like a pivotal moment in, I think, bucking the trend, so to speak. I feel like that was the moment where it's like, this movie is not what you think it is. Because that time in the movie also coincided with I think that's when Rey and Kylo just finished their battle. But even prior to their battle, when Kylo sliced Snoke in half, I still was not off of my like train of like thought of, oh, is this just like beat for beat remake? Because that was kind of a similar scene to The Return of the Jedi, where Darth Vader turns on his master. And so even in that moment, that moment was incredibly badass and really well done. It was still just like, all right, but it still doesn't feel totally original. But then once that moment happened, that kamikaze move, which we can go into in a little more, like I thought that moment was like, oh, now it's got like a totally different feel for it. And when that kamikaze moment happened, and the theater was silent, I remember that moment on, I like my arms like kind of like unfolded, and I was like, all right, like what's this movie all about? And I really started like seeing, and it started to feel like an original movie to me, and that's when I kind of started loving it. And from that point on, even everything happened afterwards. Again, maybe because at that point it felt everything felt very original to me. That's when I started, really, really enjoying the movie.
Yeah, I think one of the best parts to me that was kind of in line with that whole Admiral Holdo and Poe kind of exchange, going back and forth. The one of the things that was kind of interesting was in most movies, you expect the hot-headed pilot to he makes a decision, and then there's a little bit of sacrifice, but it's overly successful, and then he comes back, and they're kind of like, oh, okay, well, don't do that again, but I'm glad it worked out, cheers, and it's a victory. Where in this case it was not. It was a victory, but then General Leia says, at what cost? Like, and it pans down, and I enjoyed that part. I'm going to make a really random comparison. Matt might know this movie, but when I was a little kid, I used to always think it was cheesy. And then this is me as probably like a 11, 12-year-old, how, you watch the Little Giants, that they end up winning, the Mighty Ducks, like every sports movie, the underdog. The underdog ends up winning. Well, I specifically remember there's a movie called Little Big League where this little kid, he ends up like inheriting a team from his grandpa. I think it's the Minnesota Twins, and they get eliminated. It's the movie's kind of building up, and then they end up getting eliminated by the Mariners, and Ken Griffey Jr. makes, a cameo appearance or whatever. And I remember thinking like, holy shit, like this team, they totally bucked the trend a little bit, and so it just kind of, this moment reminded me of that. I know it's a totally random comparison. That's how my brain works.
He doesn't do drugs, ladies and gentlemen. Like, I know for a fact, like, he doesn't. Like, this is natural.
Where I'm going with it is I really enjoy when movies change up certain things that you just expect to happen. That the moment with Poe and being the hot-headed pilot, that is just something that movies do.
Yes,
that is what they all do. When it changes, you're like, oh, okay. Like it's an everlasting. That's why that movie, The Little Big League, sticks out to me so much, is because it changes it up. It's not the team, especially in in the early mid 90s, where every fucking sports movie is done over and over again. Or I bleep that out for YouTube. But every sports movie, the underdog ends up overcoming. And so that moment in this, I really enjoyed. And that was an everlasting moment where I'm like, okay, this is different. And, as BattleBob said, the fact that there were certain moments where you're like, okay, all right, let me see where this movie's going. Cause I had the same feeling the first half of the movie. There's a lot of corny moments in it. It felt kind of formulaic. It definitely felt like a Marvel/Disney movie. And you're just kind of like, all right, where is this going? And then the Princess Leia thing happens, and it was weird and weak in like the first part of the movie, and then you start getting moments like this, and you're like, okay, all right, let's see how this ends. So that was my random comparison.
No, this movie. I have a Shane-esque side note too. This movie kind of reminds me of how MoviePass for $10 a month you can see unlimited amount of movies. It's really incredible. So I don't know if you guys have heard of MoviePass. For $10 a month, you see as many movies as you want. Not one movie, not two movies, not three movies, as many movies as you want. I mean, truly, back to back. So, and that's what this kind of movie reminds me of. So, yeah.
You know what's sad? Your comparison made more sense than Shane's. Anyway.
Well, fuck you then. Don't bleep that out for YouTube.
That is one of my positives I put. I like Poe's growth for the movie. Truly gives him something, some great potential for future movies of actually becoming a leader instead of just a captain or commander. Holy shit!
Touche, Bob. Touche. You fuck.
No, but I really do agree with what you said. And I think the director did a brilliant job in that regard because clearly he heard the criticism of The Force Awakens of it being too, maybe perhaps too unoriginal and too much of a remake. And so I feel like almost the first half of this movie, he was like doing that a little bit and like maybe making you think that's what this would be. And all of a sudden just like, boom, flipped that on its head and really started fresh, probably beginning with that, little monologue from Kylo Ren that Matt spoke about earlier. So yeah, I thought this movie was just so well done, like in that regard. And again, like the fact that it's divisive, I think shows that it's successful.
One of the big things that I really did love about this movie, because again, I'm not trying to trash Marvel or Disney, but they don't necessarily reach into that real life situations too much, especially like political stuff. And this one, they did, and I fucking loved it. But the war profiteering, so that little casino or whatever, Cantoba or whatever the hell they were calling it, it's a little bit of a slog through that to try to get through some of that with it.
Yeah,
but the concept and the war profiteering, the fact that these people are funneling weapons, selling weapons to the good guys and the bad guys. Like, who's really winning in this? Where does this war really go at the end of the day? Who really is in control of the universe, as it would be? It's these people, and I love the fact that they had that in there. They're basically Benicio del Toro's character is talking about this, how there is no good, there is no bad. You guys are all fighting for the same stupid thing to make these people rich. And I fucking love that concept in this. I couldn't believe they did that, because that is real world shit. We had that in here in the States. You know, we have that with the old Contra scandal, Mexican cartels and shit like that, where Americans, military were selling weapons to quote unquote bad guys and good guys, whatever they see fit and shit like that. It's crazy shit, man. I thought that was a fascinating thing. I hope they dive into that more, because I remember in the very beginning of this movie when that Juggernaut spaceship showed up, I actually was thinking in my head, who the fuck pays for this? Like, where does this come from?
You know what's funny is I was thinking that too. Like, especially when what part is it that they have the shitty ships that aren't quite working as they're flying or whatever, and that
jalopies. That's what I was calling them.
Yeah, they make it apparent that like there's one side that is just scrounging pieces, and the other side that has all the money, in the galaxy or universe or whatever.
Yeah, they've touched on the war part before with the battle, but then they've never touched on the actual war part, the money, and they did in this one, and I fucking love that. I don't care too much for the Cantoba scene, the casino, but I love the concept and what that built into with the Benicio del Toro character. I fucking love that. I really, really love that part, and the fact that was put into a Star Wars movie, I thought was fantastic. It's really kind of what they needed to push this up a little bit, to help propel these type of movies into a new area.
No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's why I love Rogue One. It was more of a world of gray than like black and white, good guy versus bad guy that most Star Wars films are like. I mean, that's as you guys know, like I love my world's more of a Sicario gray than like a New Hope black and white.
Exactly.
And so that's what I love about The Last Jedi. So yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. And I mean, but they are political films. They're supposed to be political films. George Lucas, I actually just learned this a couple days ago. I thought it was fascinating. George Lucas, super left-leaning George Lucas, when he first created Star Wars, he saw the rebels as a Viet Cong. He saw the Empire as the United States.
Wow.
Yeah, that was his vision.
Interesting.
Like the film. But yeah, Matt, I mean, seeing the war profiteers, seeing the Star Wars universe outside of like just the good guys fighting the bad guys, so to speak, was incredible. So I won't repeat what you just said, but I wholeheartedly agree with everything you just said.
Yeah, that is my next note, is it's not just about good versus evil. There's a gray area that has been explored, and it started really with Rogue One when that Cassian guy shoots his own rebel soldier to get away. It's like this really gray area. It shows the dark side of the rebel forces. Yeah. And now this shows more dark side of those rebel forces. Like what you were talking about with Poe, like the inconsistency with being that hotshot pilot that fucking goes out there but waste a bunch of life when you're already limited on what you have, what resources you have.
Yeah.
I thought it was very telling, and I love that part. I love that part of it. And I love that they're skewing now, and even with Luke's conversation with Rey about the Force and about the Jedi and about the Sith and everything, it goes more into that gray area again. And that's what's so funny about this movie, is that it keeps diving into this gray area, and then with all these people, it's like a gray movie because it's so divisive.
Yeah.
It's not one way or another. It's just gray.
Right.
The last gray Jedi.
Luke Skywalker, he was pretty gray.
Yeah.
Are we? Oh no, we're still talking about pros right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of my other pros, I thought there were some moments of very strong dialogue, especially between Luke and Rey, and then between Luke and Kylo. When they kind of have their meetup. I felt that a lot of the stuff with Mark Hamill was so well done, and maybe it's because the focus is on him or his acting ability. I was really into those moments. And then there were some other moments that, mainly it was early on in the movie where I felt the dialogue was a little forced, a little overdone.
Forced. Gotcha.
Yes, yeah, they were using the force a little too much. But yeah, there was definitely some moments that that hit home. I don't have anything off the top of my head, but those specific scenes, a lot of the stuff. I actually thought Rey was a very strong character. I'll get into some of my negatives with her, but I thought overall, I liked how things were progressing, and like you had mentioned, Matt, with Kylo, he's a solid character in this movie, and I thought their dynamic, at first it was a little corny that they were like communicating with each other, and then they even have that lame joke thrown in there of like, oh, can you please put a shirt on or something like that.
Yeah.
That kind of, that was, I don't know, it was what it was, but at first I was kind of thrown off by it, like, why are they being able to talk to each other? And then the fact that Snoke said, I'm the one who connected you, with the Force, and you thought you were going to bring him to the light side, but he's going to bring you to the dark. I liked a lot of that. I thought that was strong moments of the film.
One of the things that I thought was really telling, again, eliminating a lot of that preconceived notion of what the Force is and everything, because Episode 1 kind of described the Force as midichlorians. Like, all of a sudden now there's this high midichlorian count for people, and that's what makes them Force sensitive and stuff like that. But Luke, basically, when he's breaking it down to Rey, saying, no, the Force is out there. It's in between everything, between the rocks and this part.
Gray.
It's gray. It's in there. The Force doesn't belong to the Jedi. The Force doesn't belong to the Sith. It is its own. That you are the Force. And that kind of explains a lot of what Rey is, because she comes from nothing. It's just the Force is within everybody. And you see that later on at the very end of the movie with the little kid in the broom. You see that again. The Force now is everywhere. It's not just based off of a midichlorian count, which a lot of people hated that midichlorian shit. So this kind of like eliminated that. So I'm not surprised. I'm surprised some people aren't more happy about that.
Right.
That's what basically that conversation was. Some of my, I just want to reel off real quick the characters that I thought were really great in the movie were Luke, Kylo, Rey, and Poe. I kind of already talked about Poe's growth was there. Kylo breaking the mold of just being another Vader. He truly fucking lost it. Like, he truly lost it at the end there. And he was fucking going crazy because he was trying to eliminate everything from his past.
Yep.
And I just put Adam Driver did a great job, the actor.
Yeah.
I almost started to hate Luke just because of his passion and Kylo's hatred towards Luke at the end there. I almost started hating Luke too. Like, just the way he kept gripping. I don't know how many times they zoomed in on his fist, like clenching over and over again. But it was just like I was feeling that hatred through the screen. Yeah,
just to elaborate on that a little bit, those were some great moments in this movie that pretty much shut me up from my Force Awakens critiques that I had. Kylo Ren being a Darth Vader ripoff, and Adam Driver not being that great of an actor. I didn't really care for him in Force Awakens. In this, he smashes the helmet, symbolizing like, I am not a fucking Darth Vader ripoff. Moving on from it, which
Snoke calls him a kid playing dress up with a mask.
Yeah, which and you brought that up, in when I was critical about it in the Force Awakens, but in the Force Awakens he comes off, in a very nostalgia filled movie like a Darth Vader, half or whatever, like a ripoff, and in this it symbolically. He's moving on from that, and absolutely Adam Driver did a fantastic job I completely take back everything that I said about his acting ability, because there were moments in Force Awakens where I was like, I don't feel like he should be having that emotion in this, and that was just me.
You were calling him a crybaby.
Yeah,
Like he was gonna cry.
Right, yeah. In certain moments, I'm like, why are you crying here? And then in this movie, just his anger and just the way that he played certain scenes, you know, with Snoke and Rey, that, you know, that whole scene, he played it so well, and yeah, it's phenomenal. So I just wanted to elaborate on that.
The last thing on positive characters and stuff like that was about Luke, and I've seen some people say this, and one of our guys in our on Instagram, Roberto, one of the guys that follows us a lot, he kind of mentioned, he said something that I caught my eye, and he said, "This wasn't my Luke Skywalker."
Luke would never say that. I'm sorry. Well, in this version, see, I'm talking about the George Lucas Star Wars. This is the next generation of Star Wars. So I almost had to think of Luke as another character. Maybe he's Jake Skywalker. He's not my Luke Skywalker, but I had to do what Ryan wanted me to do because it serves the story well. But listen, I still haven't accepted it completely, but it's only a movie. I hope people like it. I hope they don't get upset. And I came to really believe that Ryan was the exact man that they needed for this job. I said to Ryan, I said, Jedis don't give up. I mean, even if he had a problem, he would maybe take a year to try and regroup. But if he made a mistake, he would try and right that wrong. So right there, we had a fundamental difference. But it's not my story anymore. It's somebody else's story. And Ryan needed me to be a certain way to make the ending effective. Trailer, Luke says it's time for the Jedi to end. That's terribly shocking. Yeah. I thought, I don't want to go there. I want to be the optimistic, hopeful one like before. But it's better to surprise people. And it's getting harder and harder to find ways to surprise them because they've seen so much and then they expect so much. So again, I think I'm wrong as the misgivings that I have were set aside because I trust Ryan so deeply, and he's just, I don't think I could have done it without him.
That's his opinion, but I hate that phrasing because that's what people say about Superman. That's what people said about Batman. This isn't my Batman. This isn't my Superman. And I guess you can dislike how the character got overall portrayed, but it's just it still doesn't take away from the character because you really got to just listen. When I put Luke being broken down as a man and a Jedi. He hates the Jedi Order for what they did when they created Vader, because he basically says the Jedi created Vader. They trained him while they stood around and got destroyed by the Emperor. Yeah, and then he literally does the same thing with Kylo. He trains Kylo, or Ben Solo. He trains Ben Solo and pretty much causes his own downfall of the Jedi Order there to have rise to the First Order. Just like they did the previous Jedi. And he's just broken. He's just a broken man that doesn't want anything to do with it anymore. That's why he's on an island that is the most unfindable island, which is a weird choice of...
Yeah, well, there has to be a map and everything. You have to find that. Yeah, that piece of the map. Yeah.
I just thought that was very telling to where the character was.
Yeah, I agree. One of the critiques that I've heard is the part where Luke Skywalker is about to kill... Ben Solo, because he sees in Jeremy John's review, actually he brings it up like what he can now all of a sudden just go, instead of trying to talk to him, and I took it more as he has seen this before and he's like you can't come back from this, I have to kill him, you know. And Jeremy Johns was like, well, wouldn't he talk to Leia first, you know, and shit like that. I
call him up.
Yeah, exactly.
FaceTimer.
Can you hear me now? That's a stupid joke. Yeah, but yeah, I looked at it as you were saying, like we've been down this road before. He then now realizes it, and he's like, oh shit, I can see the darkness in him. I've just done the same exact thing that created Darth Vader. Now I have to kill him. There's no other choice. That's how I took it. And I actually enjoyed that part, especially talking about gray area. Luke Skywalker is telling the story of like, oh no, you know, the way that Kylo Ren, he just pulls down the building or whatever, and then actually it's the other way where he's like,
well, Kylo's story is like he betrayed him. He was angry. And Luke's story was like he was just trying to talk to him.
Right, yeah,
But then there's always that middle ground where it really is.
Yeah, exactly.
There was like he was going to talk to him, but then he's like he was going to strike him down. Then he felt pathetic for trying to strike him down. Like this is the stupidest thing, and it turned to be bad timing. He saw the face of a scared young boy,
right?
And then that's when the shit goes down.
Yeah, exactly. That's Luke Skywalker's version of it. And then you come to find out, actually, no, he realizes Ben Solo is turned to the dark side. I'm gonna fucking kill him, and that's the only thing I can do. So I enjoyed that part.
Yeah, I think this is a good point to pause and make like a mention of how awesome Movie Pass is. I don't know if you guys heard of it. $10 a month. You can see as many movies as you want. You should get it for yourself. It's a great holiday gift. Holidays around the corner. So it's something to look into. No, what I was going to say was I think this is a good time to acknowledge it's a good time to acknowledge an important fact here that perhaps
the Movie Pass really is only $10.
It really is only $10, guys. Not $11. It's $10. Which as a since I'm not a Star Wars fanboy, I'm more of a Star Trek fanboy. So perhaps I didn't appreciate this fact as much as I should, which is that I think Disney threw away canon, and this fact could also be related to a lot of the low scores right now on Rotten Tomatoes. But supposedly Disney threw out a lot of canon. And basically called a lot of canon, like deemed that a lot of canon now in Star Wars is going to be non-canon, which I gave them a clean slate to do whatever they want to do right now. Because I think, again, I'm not a Star Wars fanboy, so some things I'm saying might be inaccurate, but I believe in Star Wars canon, like Han and Leia have like a happy marriage. They don't get divorced or separated or whatever. And, Luke is just like a happy Jedi master, running like a Jedi academy. And in The Last Jedi, obviously, or these new Star Wars films, Han and Leia have like a divorced marriage that fell apart, and Luke became like a cynical, broken old man. And perhaps that's what pissed off a lot of like Star Wars fanboys. But I actually love that those things happen because, again, why I love Rogue One, why I love Sicario, like they're real life consequences in the world, and it's stories don't always have like neat, perfect, like happy little endings. So it's we all want to believe that Han and Leia would have just like perfect little marriage, but you know what? In real life, if your son turns to the dark side, there's a good probability that could ruin your fucking marriage. And it would drive you apart, and it would be too painful for you guys to get together because you just think of your son who is now an evil person. And if you were Luke Skywalker and you did just repeat the the errors of the past of what Matt just said, you just and now it's all happening again. You fucked up yourself, and now your Padawan's becoming like an evil guy, and that could break you as well, and that could cause you to become really cynical about the Force and like just want to get away from it all. So I actually love that these new Star Wars episodes are going in this direction. With that being said, I could see how the Star Wars fanboys would be pissed at their canon that they know was just thrown out.
Yeah, I remember hearing back before The Force Awakens came out, actually, that they were throwing out a lot of the books that had been written.
Yep.
The
extended universe.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of the extended universe was just being thrown out, like, no, we're not going to stick to that. And I have some friends that are hardcore Star Wars fans, and they were pretty pissed about that. They're like, how we have invested all this time, and you're just going to wipe it out. Like, none of that ever happened. Kind of like Joss Whedon and Warner Brothers did.
God damn it!
How did that happen?
It right back. It's like a boomerang on this fucking show.
Always.
We keep tossing. We keep going.
Oh yes, right, and Kylo Ren. When he's smashing the helmet, it reminded me a lot of Terminator. Pause for the music. And it was awesome, and I don't know. I'm going
Phasma.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I think one last little positive for me. I'm not really a big advocate of the original trilogy. Like, I really like the original trilogy. I grew up mainly with the prequels, but I do like the original trilogy a lot. But I will say, I will give it this: Puppet Yoda did feel right.
Yeah,
they had Puppet Yoda in this one, and what they did.
Sorry,
it was a puppet in this one.
No, I'm sorry. I thought you said it did feel right or did not feel right.
It did feel good. It felt good.
Okay,
yes, very good.
It felt very good.
I don't know why, but just seeing him there, and like
it worked.
The way it looked better than the CGI ones we saw from the prequels.
Yeah.
And just the way he was interacting, it just reminded you of episode 5 and 6 Yoda, you know?
Yeah, what's funny is that was my last thing as well, was Yoda. I liked, his everything about Yoda appearing, as you said, it being a puppet. The comedy part actually worked, where Luke Skywalker's about to, burn the tree down or whatever, and then he just, boom, with lightning and everything, and it just all up in flames. Like, I loved it, every moment of that. That was great, and that was a nostalgia feel that worked for me and won me over in that aspect. So
okay, I think we're gonna get into the cons now of this, unless anybody else has got pros. Any more pros?
No, I think we hit them pretty well.
Okay, let's get into the cons. I think probably everybody's general consensus con, General Leia doing her little force float.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was actually one of my top cons as well. Yeah, so perfect.
Very first one of mine.
Are you reading my notes? Yeah, that in kind of like when that happened, it was at such a transition part of the film, because I started to enjoy certain things that were happening, and then that happens, and I was like, oh shit! Like that whole part was pretty cool. And you had mentioned this after we got out of the film. It was almost like them just doing away, with all the old characters, just totally, obliterated.
Shot
just
out to space.
Yeah. But I kind of thought that, as Zach had mentioned, that would have been a cool sacrifice. Leave it at that, and kind of move on from it.
Or make her use the Force to take down one of those fucking ships or something.
No,
like from the video
like,
game, whatever that one, what was that one video game? I want to call it the Force Awakens, but I don't think that was what it's called. Anyway, they had that one cool ass fucking Jedi or Sith guy that was being trained by Darth Vader. He could take down a ship. I don't know, whatever the hell that one was called.
That's awesome.
Force Unleashed. That's what.
Oh yeah, Force Unleashed. Okay, yeah.
Take down a starship. Have her like just fucking go full on Super Saiyan and just fucking tear down one of those ships with her and shit like that. Just take it down with her, and she just disappears in space.
Yeah, something. It was weird that she's like in this Force coma and she's like floating back, and she's obviously like, I don't know if they're gonna recast her or what the hell, or maybe she's just off in the background.
That's kind of one of my other negatives, is like there was no conclusive feeling of what's going to happen with the Princess Leia character.
Yeah. Well, even like, I didn't really care for the way that Luke Skywalker died. It was kind of abrupt.
Are you reading my notes now?
Yeah, we might as well. We're in each other's head. Matt, put your shirt back on.
Can you wear a shirt, please?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that the Luke Skywalker death I felt was a little unnecessary, and it wasn't.
We were also talking about when we were leaving how funny it would have been if they would have just cut it out right when he lays on the rock, all peeled out.
Yeah,
they should just left it from.
I know. Yeah, he's just like dangling.
Never let him disappear or get up. Just leave his ass like that for the rest of the movie, and just call it good from there, because that would have been better, at least comical. At least would have been funny. What do you got, Bob?
For the cons, this was a con when I first walked out of the movie, but actually I warmed up to it, which is, the jokes being a little too jokey. Again, like, I prefer when, like, the serious moments of movies are given weight by, like, not making jokes during the serious moments, not getting little one-liners. And I feel like The Last Jedi was doing that a little too much. Sometimes I was like, I wish that joke wasn't there during this, like, serious moment. But as I was leaving, actually my girlfriend kind of, like, reminded me of this, which is like Star Wars is a fun and silly movie, and if you rewatch the originals, they're constantly saying dumb and silly shit all the time. So like it actually is a jokey western in space. That kind of is what Star Wars is. So I'm okay with it being kind of jokey. So I'm not gonna focus on that too much. Something that rubbed me the wrong way in a weird way. It was like the Snoke ended up being really no one gives a shit about his backstory, who cares about him, and Rey's parents ended up being nobody. Those two facts I loved, which we already covered, so I won't go into it, but I love those two facts. But what I didn't love was that, J.J. Abrams has a propensity to, build up these, like, mystery boxes. That's what he loves to do. He did that in Lost. He does that in, like, in all of his shit. And I think it's just, like, a dumb device, like plot device that is unnecessary in this, like, rich plot. Like, it just have Rey's parents be nobody. Just have Snoke be like, who gives a shit about Snoke? Just have that be it, instead of being like, who is this mysterious Snoke for the whole last movie, and who are Rey's parents? I mean, like if you rewatch The Force Awakens, there's like 4 or 5 times where someone's like, who is she? And then like it cuts away. So it's like it builds up this mystery of who she is, which then leads you going to this movie being like wanting to know, like, oh, is she a Kenobi? Is she Luke's daughter? Like all these whatever fan theories out there. And she ends up being nobody, which again I think is badass. But that badassness is like sort of tainted because there's a feeling of like, oh, okay, that was just all built up for nothing. Unless they're missing a point of like they're just using that build up to hammer home the point of like it's badass that she's nobody and the Force belongs to all of us and blah blah blah. It's not all about like these elite bloodlines. But still, that's just like it kind of. This is more of like a J.J. Abrams criticism than a Star Wars criticism, I suppose. But like, I just don't like these like mystery box buildups with just like no sort of deliver.
One of the things about that, one of my negatives actually is the Snoke death, because whether or not it was built up by hype or by fan theories and stuff like that, I was very disappointed that for now anyway, Snoke is literally a fucking nobody. A literally nobody. Looking at him, this dude has been through some serious shit looking at his face. It's crazy because like you look at him, you're like, this dude has seen some serious shit. How old is this motherfucker? What has he seen? We don't know. I'll preface this too. I haven't read any of the books because I know there's like a lot of books that tie into this shit and stuff like that. So if there's any answers or any kind of some small explanations of where he was at certain times, I actually brought up a quote here by Rian Johnson, the director and writer of The Last Jedi. And he was questioned in an LA Times article about Snoke's background. Like, why did we really get nothing? And this was his answer. Not in the story, it doesn't, which is not to say it wouldn't be interesting. They might explore in the next movie or elsewhere. I wrote the script before The Force Awakens came out. So when I wrote it, the who is Snoke mania hadn't arisen with fans yet. Even if I had, my perspective it's similar to how the Emperor was handled. The first 3 movies, you know nothing about the Emperor because you don't have to, because that's not the story. You know exactly what you need to know. Whereas in the prequels, you know everything about him because it's in the story. In this movie, Rey doesn't really care where he comes from, so if any of their scenes he had stopped and done a 30-second monologue about he is Darth Plagueis or whoever, Rey would have blinked and looked confused, and the scene would have gone on.
Yeah.
So my only issue with his comment about this is the first 3 movies with Darth Sidious, or whatever you want to call him, Emperor Palpatine, or the Emperor, or all his different names. The first 3 movies had the advantage of starting off the lineage of Star Wars. They didn't have to work with anything. The problem is that you have built up now a timeline and a continuity where there always is a Sith master and there's a Sith apprentice. There's always this ebb and flow. There's always 2 of them, as it was stated in the prequels and in other sources of Star Wars movies. So at this point, you would want to know, where did this guy come from? Why does he look like the way he does? There's these questions that I don't think are going to be answered now, because I don't think it's planned to answer them really. And because of the story that Star Wars has built up to now, we know why Siths are made and how they work. So where was this guy the whole time? What was he doing? What was his lineage? That's the problem. The first one's, we don't have to know anything about the Emperor because there is nothing to know. We don't know how the Sith works. I barely think we even knew what a Sith was at the time. But now we do. And the way this guy is so fucking OP'd, like he is just barely moving and he's throwing people around, electrocuting Kylo. Awesome. He is fucking people up. This dude is beyond fucking powerful, but yet we know nothing about him. And I thought I get what Rian Johnson's talking about, and I get what they were trying to do. Like him explaining his background to Rey and everything would be an awkward moment. It wouldn't quite make sense.
Yeah. Sure.
But at the same time, I feel like we need to know something.
Yeah.
Like a last name, maybe?
Right. That would help. Yeah. I'm going to tie in the Rey comparison as well. I do agree, Bob, that with the fact that they swerve it a little bit, and Rey, it makes a little bit more sense because, yeah, like you said, their whole point of it was the Force doesn't belong to just one family or whatever. It belongs to all of us. But in both of them, I feel like the characters mean a little bit more when they come from something. And you need a little bit of a background to go, oh, okay, that, you know, as like with Luke Skywalker and Anakin and, you know, how that all that ties in. And I felt that, right or wrong, they were a little bit, I felt they were obligated to finish out and tell you who Rey's parents were based on J.J. Abrams just putting out these little mystery boxes. Like, you should conclude that a little bit. And for just to say that, no, she's just someone, it doesn't matter, you know, and there has to be a balance between the Force, and so someone's going to rise up. It's I don't know. It's a little out there. I felt like there were certain moments they just wanted to swerve you, just to swerve you.
That's what the Snoke thing to me. It's
Yes.
like they wanted to swerve and flip, bucking the trend as it is, and flip the script, all those stupid cliche terms, that instead of giving you that whole lineage of Snoke, fuck that shit, ice him, and let's have Kylo become this new crazy fucking character that has nothing to do with Darth Vader. He's just a vindictive motherfucker that's trying to eliminate every single thing from his past. Mm-hmm. And I think that was what they wanted to do to propel Kylo. And I get what they were trying. So they were using the Snoke mythology that was built up over this whole time that Force Awakens was released, into that time frame with all of the Star Wars fans. I think that was, as Rian Johnson said, he wrote the script before this, as he put, Snokeamania was anyway. Before that was all started, he had this script, so he already had the idea that he was going to have Kylo become this whole different character in his story, and this is how he was going to do it. So
I'm okay with that. I like
I'm
how
50-50 on it, and just like the Rey's parents thing.
Yeah,
I got another quote from him about Rey's parents as well.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah. So again, in that LA Times article, the person asked basically how they felt, how he was trying to buck the trend, basically, of not having her come from some kind of special Jedi kin. And he responded, "It felt like the way to go because it's the hardest thing that she could possibly hear. It would be the easy thing for her to be defined by, yes, this is how you fit into this story. It's because your parent is so and so." In that moment, for Kylo to be able to use that information as a knife and twist it and try to get what he wants, felt like the most dramatically potent option.
Yeah, again, almost kind of swerving just to swerve.
Well, he's trying to build tension, and he's trying to use this. Again, he's trying to use this idea that was built up in The Force Awakens to, swerve. And now Kylo's using it as an extra jab, just like Vader was talking about in Episode 6, going after Luke's sister, now the Princess Leia, and so that pisses off Luke in that movie. It's kind of like the same concept, just pissing off the person or trying to make them feel useless, breaking them down as a character so they can take control. And I get what he's trying to say. So those are your answers on those questions, because I know a lot of people were pissed about that one. Some
other cons, I guess, moving on a bit. You know, I try not to pick apart movies with little plot holes, because at some point you just gotta shut the fuck up and enjoy a movie. and luckily, but there are some 10s out there. In my opinion, Sicario, great movie. If you guys heard of Sicario, you should go see it.
If it was on Movie Pass,
and you can use your Movie Pass.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
you don't
maybe
spending money on just one movie. You can just get a Movie Pass, and you can see, Sicario 2. It's about to come out, plus a bunch of other movies that month for the same price.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Not one time, not two times.
like for a movie to be like a 10 for me, there has to be no plot holes, and
or a 5 in the comic movie Mark's rating system. 5, but yes.
In the system of 5, the movie to be a 5 needs to have no plot holes. That's why Sicario to me is a 5. This movie, I think there weren't too many plot holes, so I'd give it a very high score in the plot hole regard. But there were some. I would say one plot hole, unless I missed it, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but
wrong.
Benicio del Toro's character, which was he's such an amazing actor. So really loved his acting. Loved that he's in the movie. That moment seemed like a Deus Ex Machina moment to me that pissed me off. Like, was it really that he was just a random guy they bumped into who just could so happen, break the shield codes for them, or was it he was the actual person that they were seeking?
That felt like such a video game mission to me. It wasn't even funny. It's like they wouldn't even give him a name. Go find the master code breaker. That's what they kept calling him.
Yeah.
It's like, it's total video game verbiage. It was kind of lazy how they were saying that. And then there's the guy with the lapel, the bloom lapel or whatever the hell it was. Go find him. And it's just some suave motherfucker that's rolling dice.
Dude, yeah. Well, great point of in comparison with the video game, because it totally is. Actually, one of my negatives was the plot of the whole hyperspeed tracker and everything like that. It was kind of, I wasn't feeling that part as much. And, and I felt like it was almost unnecessary just to propel all these other things, like Finn and Rose, their relationship, and now we have to go find, this guy and like all this stuff. It was almost like some unnecessary side thing that they were trying to make this event so important, and like oh my gosh, this is so huge that they can track us, but at the end of the day, it's also such a minor thing. Yeah, they're wiping out everybody, but I don't know. I wasn't completely sold on that whole plot and how everything kind of.
Yeah, the only thing I liked about it was the war profiteering part of it.
Yeah,
like I like that message. I just wish there was a better way to tell that message. That was kind of my thing.
No, something else I loved about it though was that I like how that whole plot line ultimately went nowhere. So it was a big fucking waste of time. But I actually love that. Like, some people actually criticize that. Like, oh, they spent so much time with this plot line and end up going nowhere. Then, so they really had no effect on anything. But I actually love that fact, because in real life, maybe that plan wouldn't work out. And it didn't work out. Whereas, and that's where movies can become predictable of like, okay, now we're on this mission and now we're just waiting for them to succeed. So I actually thought it was refreshing that they didn't succeed.
Yeah, man, that's a great point.
And it kind of mixes with the Poe thing too.
Yeah.
Him being that hotshot pilot, and his plan isn't working either.
Right.
Not everything goes the way it's supposed to go.
Yeah. That's a good point. And maybe because it wasn't completely fleshed out, that's why I wasn't sold on it. It was just random. But yeah, you're right. Like,
and then they had that animal cruelty message in there for no fucking reason.
Yeah, there was a whole lot of just random stuff in there.
Beat kids and animals. All right.
yeah, pretty much. However, the kids are going to turn into Jedi.
Yeah, that's true.
But wait, just to clarify, so was Benicio del Toro, was that the actual codebreaker, or was that really just like a random guy who could also be a codebreaker?
I think he was
supposed to for me.
I think he was a random guy.
See, yeah, I wasn't sure if like the lapel guy in the casino was like, oh, that actually wasn't the right lapel guy they were looking for. That guy was just coincidentally wearing lapel, but the real code breaker was Benicio del Toro. But if that was the case, then it was kind of weird that lady would refer that kind of guy to them, because that lady was like, someone who was definitely a good guy in the first movie in The Force Awakens. So the Benicio del Toro was just a random code breaker. Yeah, it seems like a bullshit sort of like Deus Ex Machina. Like, what are the odds that you're gonna get thrown in jail and you're gonna be put into a cell with a guy who is able to break this, who has this thing that you need? He's a code breaker whiz. Who this woman who told you to go there, who's like 5,000 years old? Remember, she's like or something.
Right.
She even said like, oh, there's only one guy in the universe who can help you with this. And then it just so happens you bump into a second guy in the universe who can do it. And it was a stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
It was so much of a stretch. That's why I was thinking like, oh, maybe Benicio del Toro was the actual guy, and the other guy was just coincidentally wearing a lapel, but I guess not.
I don't get any indication that he was.
Yeah. That actually would have been kind of cool, but there wasn't anything that to tell you that. So could have been.
So that was one plot hole for me. And the other one, I'll just. It's not like a plot hole, but it's more just like okay, but then if we could do this, then what about this, and this? And again, maybe this is like a weak thing to do with movies, and you should just shut up and enjoy them. But what I want to comment on is the hyperspeed, lightspeed kamikaze scene, which again, fucking amazing scene, beautiful, huge moment in the movie, loved it. But after the movie, when I was able to like process it and think about it, then it's like, well, wait a minute. Why didn't they just fucking kamikaze like the Death Star every time and like save a bunch of fucking planets? Like if the kamikaze thing is in play, then why was that not used before? So my feelings there are similar to the feelings of like, the whole, oh, they could track us in hyperspace now. It's like in a world, in a game, whatever, there has to be some rules. Yeah, rules can bend, but like I don't think rules can outright break. Because if you break the rules of a game, then it's just like, like anything can happen. So like in this world, there are rules. Like you can't track someone in hyperspace, or like supposedly in this world, whatever, you can't light speed kamikaze. Because if you can do that, then there should have been no episode 4, 5, and 6. Like you easily could just kamikaze all those Death Stars, So that kamikaze scene like bothered me like a little bit.
I have something kind of similar about the rules, and this was just something that just bugged me throughout the movie because it just kept happening kind of repeatedly. And I put the First Order is just dumb, and there were rules that just didn't make sense that keep the First Order from destroying the rebels. Like when the TIE fighters are wrecking everything, when they blow up the thing where Leia is and all the other leaders and stuff like that, when they blow that up. All of a sudden now, because it's going forward and it gets a little bit of a distance on those big ships, like all of a sudden now they're like, oh, you have to come back. We can't support you. Why? What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah,
support.
right.
Like it bugged me. It's like all these stupid rules to keep the TIE fighters in from just wrecking the shit out of them.
Mm-hmm.
Why? I don't understand that. And then at the very beginning when they're fucking evacuating that planet, and the one scally motherfucker, the mean guy through the beginning there, he's like, we should have had our TIE fighters out 5 minutes ago. Well, why didn't you? Because you see transports flying up. Why are you just aiming 2 big cannons? Why don't you already have TIE fighters on those transports? It just, again, it was kind of like stupid. Like he makes the comment. I'm like, well, why didn't you already have them deployed? You should have already had them out there picking off those fucking things. The one thing that just I put in big fucking bold letters on my sheet here is when they land on the salt planet, why did they land so fucking far away from the base?
Yeah, no shit.
That they had to do that fucking timed crawl in a video game where it's like the distance is like they're taking forever to get there. They got these slow ass cannon that's apparently Death Star technology, but doesn't shoot like a Death Star at all. And like it just big fucking cannon. That's what they should have called it. It was just stupid. Why did they land? They did that in Rogue One, too. That pissed me off. In the very beginning of that, when they go to get the dad, he lands like way on the other side of the fucking farm.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of just landing in front of the house. Like, it makes no sense. It's like they got the worst fucking transport team of all time. It just bugged me that they landed so fucking far away. I don't know why they did that. Anyway, that's one of my big...
Yeah, that happens a lot of movies now I think about it. I feel like if we went through it, we could probably point out so many movies where, people land far away and they have to, like, walk a distance just for the sake of the movie,
Right.
And then my ultimate nitpick con. This is totally nitpicking, so I understand that, and this is just me. And I even put, I know it's Star Wars, but the rules of space went out the window, literally, with Leia. Like, the no gravity, how do the bombs just drop out of the ship?
Yeah, no shit.
Leia being in space, not only no oxygen, but there's no pressure either. So what we've learned in like science classes, with no pressure, your blood and all your liquids in your body would literally boil because there is no pressure. So again, her force bubble, I don't know.
Yeah, pretty much.
Force bubble saved her. And then when she gets to the door of that thing after Mary Poppins her way down to the fucking thing. They just open the door and they just don't go right out the fucking door because there's space on the other side of that fucking thing. Why wouldn't they just get sucked right out the door?
Yeah, 2 of those I have responses to. The bombs, I can like just chalk that up to like, they have some sort of space technology where like, they're like maybe they're just like, using magnets or something to like go down to that ship. So yeah, okay. I don't see it as like gravity in space. I see it as like so much technology. Well, and then with Leia, I can easily, whenever there's like mysticism involved, that's pretty easy to be like, yeah, just a force bubble or whatever, and I can get past that. But I actually do agree with the door opening. That seemed like that is like a little, I think it's a valid nitpick.
Well, and I feel like I could be wrong, but when I was watching it, it seemed like Leia was the one who opened the door because they couldn't get it, and then all of a sudden it's like, and like she opens it, but then she's in a force coma.
Maybe she's forcing them all. Like she's just
holding
them all back. That could be. They're all protected.
Wait, don't worry. Yeah, no problem.
The force is strong with me.
Yeah.
We talked about Luke's death a little bit. I just thought that was a little anticlimactic.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me a little bit of Yoda's death in the end of episode 6 where he just disappears, just fades away. I guess he's at peace. He overexerted himself doing this hologram Tupac image of himself. because he was younger and everything else, and he was wearing completely different clothes.
Yeah, that bugs me at first until I realized, oh, okay, he's just projecting himself. But then why do you...
You thought he had just for men, and he was...
Yeah, like, okay, let me cut my hair and you know, and like do all this shit. But why would you go through that effort? I guess, you know, if I
look like what he looked like when he tried to kill him.
Oh, okay.
Fuck with him more.
Yeah.
It's mental.
I guess so. I guess if I ever do that, I'll just fix my receding hairline and, you know, gray facial hair and everything, and then call it good.
Yeah. So if you're
come on, if you were force projecting yourself, you would probably you'd be a little more jacked. Like,
true.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
4-inch dick. A little bit bigger. You know.
Yeah.
Really show off for the ladies.
Exactly. True. All right. Touche.
Any more? I guess
Luke's death was like a little like, oh whoa, I don't know he's gonna die right there. I mean, I like that he faded away, just like Ben and Yoda. So the fade away I liked, but yeah, the timing felt. I was like, oh whoa, he's gone right there. Like it did seem a little sudden. Whereas you know Yoda was an old man like about to die obviously, and you know Kenobi got struck down. Yeah, all of a sudden with Luke, it just seemed like, oh, whoa, now's the moment. All right, like it did sneak up on me a little bit, but I did like how he faded away. I thought that was good.
One of my last negatives is Rey's powers. Now this is I've seen this being a big battle of controversy. I think we even talked about this in our Rogue One a little bit. I think Bob brought it up as him having a problem with someone all of a sudden being able to compete with somebody that's been trained for so long in a certain thing. I believe that's what Bob said then.
Star-Lord.
Yeah.
Star-Lord going against his dad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, maybe that's what it was. Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Yeah, going just all of a sudden being able to use these powers.
Yeah, you did bring it up in our Force Awakens breakdown.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So again, in her powers growing so fast, all of a sudden, and I kind of chalked it up a little bit at first to, well, it's because the movies are modern day now. So now we got technology. So now as they showed in this movie, they just made up a shit ton of Force powers.
Right.
In this movie. You know, you got Force hologram, Tupac. You got Force like mind meeting. You got a lot of different Force shit now going on. The mind reading ability all of a sudden now you can just read their minds. That's what Episode 7 and this one did. Is like, you made up a lot of Force power. So now because the technology because we got that with Rogue One. You know, Darth Vader in Episode 4 or The New Hope, however you want to call it. He's moving pretty shitty against Obi-Wan.
Right.
But literally in the Rogue One, that Darth Vader scene is...
Yeah, you finally have it.
Yeah, he's chucking people up against the ceiling, cutting them in half, slicing them down. It's more because the technology now gives us the ability to see these guys go full-on fucking ham. And and so I was trying to chalk it up a little bit to that. But at the same time, I'm trying to figure out if what Snoke said... that because of the darkness rising and Kylo and all that shit, that the light now, because the Force has to have a balance, the light is going to make a new person. It's basically going to bring the light up to the same potential. And he thought it was going to be Skywalker, but it turns out to be her. So is this just the Force propelling her so fucking hardcore through all the hoops, like instantly?
Yeah.
Because it's trying to balance.
It's the even team selection on Madden. You know, you want to make sure that it doesn't matter how shitty, if you pick the Browns, that you're going to be able to compete against the Patriots. It's that whole thing. I think that's what's so important, and maybe it is a little too predictable, but that's what's so important about her background. Is that in The Force Awakens, I was able to just chalk it up to, well, she's a Skywalker. She's clearly a Skywalker. So that's why she's gaining all these powers and she's OP. And then just for it to be nothing, and yeah, I guess like you said, it's because Snoke said, well, there has to be some sort of balance to it.
Is that the reason though? Do we know?
I mean, I guess.
That's his reason. I mean, a lot of other people is because it's a woman.
I guess so.
And so I've seen that out there. So, you know, there's that reason as well. So I don't know.
No, I think you're right. I think it's just a Force. You know, there's always balance. It's all about balance. So yeah, if there's gonna be like a rise and like a powerful Kylo, there's gonna be like an equal rise on the other side. So I think that's what chalks it up to, like her becoming so powerful so quickly.
I think that was their reason anyway.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not is up to you ultimately. Right. That's what it comes down to. But that, I think that's your answer for her abilities just skyrocketing.
Yeah.
At this point. And I also think because of technology.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because now they want to...
technology, you're right. Because even with Snoke, like, exactly, to your point you said earlier, like, oh, Snoke is so badass, he's fucking lifting people up and torturing them, and it's so like, where is Snoke on the power scale? Like, you know, if I did some Star Wars research right now, like, I think Snoke is like so incredibly powerful, but is it that he's really powerful, or is it just like he has the advantages of like modern movie technology, so he can do this badass shit, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's a lot of it too. Well, we can end on like a lighter note of criticisms, which is like that really sexless kiss.
Yes, well, dude, you
Good.
you
Yep.
fucking read my mind. I was about to add one last thing.
Yeah, there's a great story behind this.
Yeah. Yes.
Such a bad kiss.
Yeah, dude, that's so funny. Like Matt kind of, gave me the, hey, do you have anything more? I'm like, oh yeah, have one more thing, and boom, you jump right in for that. So that's impressive. Yeah, so that whole relationship thing kind of was forced, bugged me. I think that, going back to the progressive type stuff in society, I feel like that was apparent and kind of forced a little bit, and the whole kiss was forced, and so
literally,
yeah. So our whole story behind that, that we're both expecting. Well, actually, Matt had seen it at this point, but I'm expecting like a huge sacrifice from Finn. Really awesome moment where he's just gonna ram himself, Independence Day style. Then all of a sudden, he gets hit off to the side, and I'm taken off. Or taken aback by that a little bit. And Matt, actually, you remember what was her line?
we don't. I don't remember. Like we don't
kill. We don't kill what we hate. We have to like protect what we love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. All right. You remembered a little bit more. So that's a little cheesy. And then the kiss, and as they're kissing, the fucking battering
big fucking gun.
Yeah, big fucking gun. The battering ram thing that's supposed to, it fucking goes off in the background and blows a hole. And I start laughing in the theater, and then Matt loses it. And I thought he was laughing along with me. I'm like, okay, I'm not the only one that thought that was stupid. And then Matt is actually laughing because I'm laughing at it. And I guess.
Well, it brought my attention to the fact that it was really stupid. Because I remember the first time I saw it, I was like you, I was taken aback by the fact that she rammed him, and like now she's fucked up, and he's dragging her ass all the way back across that fucking salt field.
That just added
on a leaf or whatever the fuck it was. and so then when like it was really the timing of your laughing. Like, one, John Boyega, the guy that plays Finn, is just standing there. She lunges up, kisses him, and you just start busting up laughing as this thing goes boom,
right in the back.
Boom, and like there's no response by him in any manner from the kiss or the explosion,
right?
And you just start busting up laughing. So now I'm busting up laughing because it was. So there's a serious moment where the fucking First Order is about to wreck the rebellion, and we're giggling like schoolgirls because I couldn't stop laughing.
Oh yeah, I don't know why I found that so entertaining. It was just the way that the moment happened. It was like a cheesy kiss, and then all of a sudden in the background, well, it doesn't matter. He was about to sacrifice and stop it, and then because your dumbass rammed him. Boom! It goes off anyways and blows a big hole in their fort.
Well, it was also kind of funny. She's like, "We got to save what we love," and then tons of people should be dead.
And then she fucking falls. Yeah,
and then I was making the joke because, like, all of a sudden, fucking Luke's hologram gets fucking blown up, and well, whatever.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, he's just inside there, just dragging her ass along on this fucking thing, and all I could picture is like him trying to wiggle her around one of those AT-ATs and shit, just trying to get, because he was way back there, right? So he's got to work himself back.
Dude, he dragged that shit, her all the way, like that's a long ass distance
on that salt fucking thing. That would have been great just to see the one big red line just starting from the ships, because you know how the salt goes away when the red shows. It was just, it was just stupid. It was really, really stupid at that moment. There was a couple other ones that were just stupid fucking moments as well.
Yeah. That was probably the best one.
That was probably
Bob,
the best.
Did you have anything to add to that?
No, you're nailing that moment pretty well. I'm about to see the movie in a couple of days, so I'm gonna definitely pay attention to that moment more. But yeah, I remember that the whole moment just felt so off to me. Not only just the terrible kiss itself, but yeah, it was just like with the cannon going off in the background. It was absurd.
Somebody made the joke. It was like he was kissing his sister or something.
Yeah,
it honestly felt that way. It really did. I mean, I actually like their romance, like in the sense of I guess it's similar to like, episode 4 where like, maybe you thought in the beginning like Luke and, Leia were gonna hook up. I mean, they actually did kiss, but like it ended up going another way. And so with, the Force Awakens was like, oh, Finn and, Rey gonna hook up, but like, no, it's gonna go another way. So I kind of like that. Like, actually, that is like one callback beat that I'm enjoying. But so I think overall I'm liking the relationship, but yeah, but the kiss was so bad where it was just like, oh, maybe they shouldn't be lovers. I mean, they're more like brother and sister, the way that kiss went down.
Yeah, I felt that was just another reason to swerve, just to have a swerve. Like you said, everyone's thinking, oh, it's going to be Finn and Rey. They're even building to that throughout the movie of like, oh, I need to get to my friend. Like they're in love with each other. So Finn is in love with Rey, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, we're gonna have this relationship instead. Just kidding. It's like another swerve just to have it there. So
I kind of have a little section here called like random things that might teeter into a little bit negative things. When we did our Force Awakens retro review, I had a problem with kind of the Finn character in general because this was a guy that was abducted by the First Order, basically space Nazis, and he's like way too sociable to be raised by space Nazis for so fucking long.
Right.
And I thought, and then his like desire to find Rey, I was like, this is like, he's so trustworthy and like he's just so fucking adamant to get to her. It's like, dude, you were with space Nazis for the longest time. How about you just fucking, I don't know, figure your shit out and like get your life together first,
Right.
Get a job, fucking get an apartment or flat, whatever you guys want to call it in that space. And just, I don't know, I just felt like it was just way too pushing of him. Like, I got to make sure my friend doesn't come here and get trapped in the same situation we are. Yeah, because one person matters. Like, it was just kind of a ridiculous thing to propel him forward to meet this chick, the Rose chick. And then my other random thing was, we have no answer now of how that Maz Kanata or whatever, that little butthole eyes character, got the lightsaber.
I've never heard that before. That's pretty good.
We never got the answer of why she had the lightsaber from Force Awakens, and now the lightsaber's destroyed. So we never got an answer for that because I remember from the retro review. Good thing we watched this beforehand. But like she even says to Han, he's like, "How did you get this?" And he's like, "A story for another day." And like, well, another day has passed, and we're gonna fucking forget that one.
Right.
There was also talk about the Knights of Ren when he fucking wiped out Luke's little village there, his little Jedi temple area. That there was like these Knights of Ren. There was these people behind him that helped him do some of that shit, helped him destroy that place. Like, what happened to them? We have no answer on that one. I kind of talked about this a little bit, but Leia's fate, like what is ultimately going to happen with Princess Leia.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to have this kind of conclusive reason in this movie, but I guess not. So we'll maybe find something out. This movie was really persistent on the word hope. Like, there was more, hope was being used more in this word than fucking a Superman movie.
Seriously.
It was constant with the hope. And it's like, oh, we need that spark to get Hope driving again to get the rebel. I'm like, how is not destroying a Star Killer base fucking motivation? Like, you destroyed a fucking giant planet killing fucking thing that can kill multiple planets. It's like, they kind of made it like the First Order came into this movie with no scratches and no nothing, full power. They just lost a huge fucking base. I know the Republic lost their government, I guess, but they act like just everything just fell apart because they lost their government, and like the First Order never had any issues. Like, they just lost a shit ton of people. They lost a huge fucking base. Who knows how much money they dumped into that shit? That's a big investment, all right? And they just lost it. And they just kind of, I feel like they glossed it over. Like, space Nazis always have the ability to keep going,
Yeah.
No, you're right. That's actually good points on my like random list. I just have one, which was the casting. I think Star Wars, with the original and now this one, I think they always cast people who aren't already A-list celebrities, just so it's not distracting. I guess it's not true with the prequels, but anyway, what I want to say was I didn't love Laura Dern's casting. Not that she's like a huge A-list celebrity, but I think she's like a very iconic celebrity. And like when she came out on the screen, I was like waiting for like a velociraptor to run out. Like, it was just very distracting. Like, I was waiting for like a T-Rex to like, pop in the back and start screaming. So I just found every time she was like involved in a scene, I just was taken out of like the moment for whatever reason. Benicio del Toro, obviously, that is another huge. He's like an A-list huge actor. But for some reason that worked for me. I don't know if it's because maybe like he was just maybe he's a better actor or whatever. But for some reason Benicio del Toro worked for me, but Laura Dern's casting did not.
That actually reminds me of one last negative I had. That it's just one of those tropes they do in movies a lot. And I had this problem with Wonder Woman also, is when certain character has major information and just refuses to give that information to the other character.
Yeah.
And it was like with Mama Wonder and Hippolyta in Wonder Woman, she just fucking wouldn't tell Diana that she was fucking a god, basically.
Yeah,
and
the god killer.
Yeah, she's the god killer.
She is, yeah.
And that she has this lineage and all she'll find out. Well, fuck you. You know, and like that pissed me off with Hippolyta. And then in this one, it's like, just tell Poe. Just fucking tell him. What do you think he's going to do?
Yeah,
just
what the plan is.
Tell him.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it was just like this whole letdown of like, they were just trying to hold this information, tell a couple random people, and I just think it fell apart because it just forced conflict. And you didn't need the conflict.
Yeah.
You know, just let him fucking know. And it just seems to be a common trope you see a lot in movies.
I couldn't agree more. And I'm actually really glad we're ending on that, because you do see a lot in movies, and movies need to fucking stop doing that. Because you're right. That was a moment where she could have just told him and avoided all that. And she could have avoided a fucking mutiny. You know, like. Yeah. So I couldn't agree more. And that's a really good point.
But she likes him. I like him. It's just funny the way she said it. So let's give our scores for Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
All right. Let me start off with Zach's score real quick so I don't forget. So Zach actually gave it a 4.7 out of 5.
Good googly muggly.
Yeah.
Holy shit. What did you give Rogue One? Or, I don't know if you can have that.
No, I don't. I should ask him, though. I should ask him to kind of rate some of the other ones.
Yeah, because to get a sense of his 4.7, I got to, compare it to, some of his other scores.
Right.
Yeah, for me, I'm, hesitant to give a score because, again, I went into the movie not open-minded, and so I'm gonna go into the movie again in a couple days just more ready to kind of experience it instead of go into it with literally I think my arms were folded during the first half of the movie. But I very much enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it more than Force Awakens. Definitely enjoyed it more than Episode 1 and 2. Enjoyed it more than Episode 6. So for me, it's Episode 4, Episode 5, Episode 3, Rogue One, and The Last Jedi are on the top, or would be the top half for me. Fuck, The Last Jedi, I'm going to give, so is that a 5? Right now I'm going to give it a 4, I'm going to give it a 4 point, I'm going to give it a 4.
All right, so my score, this is definitely going to be a film that I'm going to have to watch a couple times before. I just want to preface it with this before I can actually give a solid score. I'm kind of somewhat in the middle. I'm gonna go 3.4 out of 5, and like I said, mainly it's because I'm undecided. There are parts that I enjoy of this. Just to kind of give it a little bit of a scale. Rogue One, which I've now seen a couple times, I really love that movie, and that's in the force for me. So this isn't quite there. I'm still kind of undecided. So that's where.
Didn't you give Force Awakens a higher score than this?
I might have a 3.5
or something.
Yeah, 3.5, 3.6. I think.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think because Force Awakens, even though when I first watched
popcorn flick.
It is, but when we just did our retro review, I appreciated it more because there were some darker moments in it that I even talk about it in our retro review, that I remember that movie after my theater experience of this is just, laughs and jokes and fun and all this stuff. And then there's actually some more serious moments. There's some good tones, some great action. There's other stuff that I enjoyed with Force Awakens, even though it is a rehash and it is, nostalgia popcorn flick. I enjoy it a little bit more the second time around. So this Last Jedi, I'm going to have to see a couple more times before I can really figure out.
Second viewings definitely help because I think I'm the one here that's seen it twice.
Mm-hmm.
First time. So going into mine here, first time I saw it, I walked out a little underwhelmed because I was really shocked by the Snoke death and Rey's parents just being nothing.
Yeah.
That was a little bit of that brought me back because I was pretty hyped up. I was fairly certain we were going to get an answer to Snoke and we were going to get an answer to Rey's parents.
Yeah.
And we did and didn't. And I was like, wow. So I was a little underwhelmed. I was like, wow, the payoffs to those plot points were kind of pathetic,
Yeah.
And in a year of where we had poor payoffs to movies, it just kind of felt like another one. I was like,
yeah.
So going in, and then I thought about it for a little bit more, and I was like, wow, this just wow, they really just did, as I've been saying through this whole thing, they bucked the trend on this one. They really did. Then when I saw it a second time, I'm just watching how this movie was structured, the dialogue, and how they just started, like Bob was talking about in the beginning, it feels very reminiscent of episode 5, kind of following along some of those beats a little bit, and then it starts twisting, and then it just goes on top of itself. And for a Disney movie, and I know this is my perspective, because some people out there love those Disney movies, the Marvel movies and stuff like that, but for me, this movie had balls for Disney. For a Disney movie, it had balls. It was way darker. Way darker than any Disney movie I have ever fucking seen. Maybe Toy Story 3 was a little bit darker. But this was just like, I mean, the sacrifice of war, you really got an idea of that in the beginning with the people just getting blown up, the loss of life, and the limited capabilities. You know, people just don't keep getting reset. It isn't a video game. You know, you got that feeling that it just, life doesn't keep going. They can't just keep pulling ships out of their ass and everything, unlike the First Order, who does. So they got the cool cheat code. But other than that, it was a very, very, very compelling to me. And I felt like this movie had balls, and I like balls. And so, and especially when it comes to movies, it really got to me. And I still don't like the answer with Snoke. I will go with that. I don't like that they chopped him in half. Like they basically cut that storyline in half. I get what he's trying to do. I get what Rian Johnson was saying in the quote. I get it, but I felt like we deserved, I mean, not deserved, that's a strong word, but I felt like we should have got a little bit more on him. Rey's parents coming from nothing, I think that is a to be continued story arc. I think we will see what happens with episode 9, and we'll see how that goes down. At this point, I'm 50-50 on. I'm in the gray on this one. I like the fact that she did come from nothing, and that it's just the Force now is more of an entity than a rightful heir. Like, it's not just part of a bloodline. It's not just part of chance. It is everybody. Right. And anybody can do this. And I like that fact that it opens it up to a broader range. Literally, broad. And, and so I really, really like those concepts. And the movie grew on me the second time watching it. I really appreciated it. The score, again, the visuals, just fucking phenomenal. Phenomenal visuals. So I'm going to give it 3.7 out of 5.
All right.
So go check out Movie Pass for fucking $10 a month.
Also check out Little Big League if you haven't seen that.
Little Big League. You know when you said Little Big League earlier, I was actually thinking of the movie where the kid falls wrong and his arm gets stuck in a certain way.
Oh no, that's what movie is that? It's right in the same realm though.
Yeah, like, and he can throw like a 90-mile-an-hour fastball now.
Yeah, and then she's like floated in. You know what I mean? Like that's it. What is that? That's damn it.
I don't know. Angels in the Outfield?
No. But yeah, they all win.
Movie.
Angels win the pennant. Yeah.
Yeah. Without the Angels.
Yes, true.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. What the hell movie is that? Plays for the Cubs. Rookie of the Year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
God damn.
It's right in line with all those. That was a good movie back in the day. I ate all those up. All those sports movies, you know, feel good.
I did too, but you just remember them way better than I do. I remember watching Little Giants, Rookie of the Year, Angels in the Outfield. I watched Angels in the Outfield a lot.
Yeah. That was a good one. Mighty Ducks. That was a good one.
Yeah, Mighty Ducks. That was I liked all those ones. I just do not remember them like you do, apparently.
I guess not. Airbud? No.
Space Jam.
Space Jam. Ooh.
Space Jam's a fucking classic.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I've seen some things like that are like, oh, Space Jam's really not a good movie if you really look at it. Fuck you. That's a fucking fantastic. Michael Jordan should have won an Academy Award for that shit. All right? Fuck yourself. That was a great goddamn movie.
Love it.
Made me fucking love bunnies. What was that? The Miss Bunny? I forgot.
Oh, yeah.
The female bunny? Yeah. I forgot her name now. Sounds very sick. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't remember. Babs Bunny.
Babs, yeah, good call.
Yeah. He's all typed.
Yeah, I was like,
I gotta look it up. Yeah. Nope, Babs Bunny.
All right, so that's gonna conclude this fucking random podcast about fucking childhood movies.
As always.
If you want to hear our top 5 lists on childhood sports movies, too bad. That was it.
Coming soon.
Maybe. I don't know.
To a Movie Pass near you.
Yes.
Or brought to you by Movie Pass.
Yeah, fuck. I think we might bring that up every show now. That's our official non-sponsor.
Yeah, exactly. Fuckers.
So make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube page. We are at 119 subscribers.
Woo!
it keeps crawling
moving.
and growing and growing. Yeah. Seven a week. So one for every day in the week for you people out there that watch Little Big League.
Yep, he is right. I verified the math.
Yes, I look at the analytics. We are covered. So we're slowly growing. We got a big little community there. You know, biggest little community.
Yeah. In Vermont.
So we got people talking on there. Go and join, interact, have a great discussion with those people. Make sure you check us out on iTunes at Comic Movie Marks or in the Google Play Store. Find Podcast Republic because it plays all Comic Movie Mark podcasts.
Yes, and please leave us that all-important iTunes review. You can do it as an iTunes user, Apple iTunes user, or as an Android user. Just install iTunes on your computer. It's free, and leave us that all-important iTunes review. You will also be entered into whatever the hell our next giveaway is whenever we decide to do it.
Yep.
It's an automatic entry.
You heard one of our reviews in the intro.
Yes, you did.
One of our favorite reviews of all time.
Yes.
So we'll get so that was fun.
So we'll get to that was hilarious.
Yeah, that was great. That was fantastic. Make sure you find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Check out that Instagram. Check it out. We just recently, hey Bob, check out our Instagram. We actually just put up some pretty funny little stuff
at Comic Movie Marks, in case anyone was wondering.
Yeah, at Comic Movie Marks. Check it out. Fun little memes, fun little videos. Shane did a fantastic job with some photoshopping and editing on one of them, so it was fun. So check those out.
Good stuff, yes.
On Instagram at Comic Movie Marks. Any final words, Battle Mike Bob?
No, it's just that this movie reminded me of time I went to a bodega once and I ordered a ham sandwich and it was really good. Kind of had essence of like the mayonnaise and the mustard in there. It really played in well with how Kylo handled the lightsaber. Reminded me of like the poppy seeds in my bread.
Snow cut half was like the sandwich.
Yeah, precisely. Like a nice even slice. It was really great. It was really great. So,
yeah. See, it jogs great memories.
You salted the rim of my margarita on that planet. It was just fantastic.
Sure. Strawberry margarita.
In case I don't see you.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. You're one of very few to make it to the end.
Yes, thank you very much.
Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Comic Movie Marks Podcast and hit the notification bell. All these fucking YouTube channels say this shit, so I'm going to say it now.
Yes, it's perfect. And if you want to hear our full podcast, you can check out our podcast on iTunes or any other podcast subscription service.
Make sure you subscribe. Thanks again.